everything is subclinical. Who says 5.6 is normal? To me, if you're keto, you should be aiming for 5.0. Now, I know that's robust and that's really good, but it's like, isn't that what we want to aim for? People see the range and they think, oh, I'm in range, therefore I'm healthy. And they don't realize the range is based on other sick people that go see their doctor. So I don't want to be the best of the sick. I want to be maybe the worst of the not sick at worst.
Great point. Excellent point. And the thing is, like these numbers at you go to different labs and they have different ranges. Now, typically with A1C, it's 5.7 to 6.4. That's kind of a standard. But other blood work that you get done, the ranges differ, and there's never really a gold standard for a lot of the blood work. But I knew that 5.6. Was not great, and my doctor never mentioned anything about diet, and it all comes down to that, and the type 2 diabetes, it all comes down to the diet.
Yeah, I'm curious, Brian, as a pharmacist and educated in traditional pharmacology, was there any kind of nutrition training there, or was it solely on mechanistic things that the drugs are doing in the body?
It was drugs. I mean, it was back in I just graduated right before the Ally. Remember that the Orlistat?
I did a whole episode where I kind of made fun of it because Orlistat makes you shit your pants, you guys. So if you've never seen it before, don't mess with that. Supposedly it doesn't let you digest fats, which to me is horrific to think about, a drug that's like inhibiting the absorption of fat, especially with all the fat soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. Like, how do you absorb those if you're crapping out your fat? Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, Ally. And so I did a whole episode, and my producer got cute and he put fart noises all through the episode. I could not stop laughing when I listened back to that one.
But that's what we're dealing with. That is exactly what we're dealing with, and then the phentermine and I graduated right after fen got taken off the market. Yeah. It was nothing about diet. It was about what kind of drugs can we give patients that are overweight.
And that's sad to me. But also, I'm assuming the pharmacological industry of teaching is much in the same way as the medical school teaching. Heavily funded and influenced by the pharmaceutical companies.
Absolutely, everything is funded by them, and that's kind of, it's their way or the highway. And I mean, looking back at it, I'm like, okay, well, they're getting their funding from the pharmaceutical companies. This is what we're going to have to do. But you're making a deal with the devil. I mean, it's really unfortunate.
You know what would be really cool is if somehow you could become a holistic pharmacist, where you have strategic drugs, because there are still some good drugs. Sure. I think overall metformin is a really good insulin modulating drug. If I ever took any drug, I don't, but if I ever took any one, that would be the one. Now it comes with some risks as well, and you can talk about that, but I would love to see like a holistic pharmacist that has like high dose omega-3 fatty acids. They make those. That's not really drug in my eyes, but they make it pharmaceutical grade, and even like pharmaceutical grade of some of these other key vitamins and nutrients that you could then sell in that way. I don't know. I think there's a better way to be in the pharmacy industry than just pushing drugs indiscriminately.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of take that one step further, I really am heavily into eating. You can get what you need through food. I mean, it comes down to, supplements that definitely can help. I mean, that's for sure. But, getting back to the basics, getting the sunlight for your vitamin D,
yes.
Eating the, wild caught salmon, the grass-fed beef, and take the money that you're spending on your medications, spending it on food. That's your medication. I want to really focus on that. I mean, that's there's something to be said about it,
Well, and food is medicine. I do like that phrase. I was on simulcasting over on Clubhouse. And I was on Clubhouse the other day, and somebody mentioned, I hate that phrase, food is medicine. I'm like, but it is. Like, look at all the ways the body can heal thyself, especially when you focus on real foods that nourish you, that give you adequate nutrients, that's diversified. Like, I feel like so much of what we thought we knew about nutrition and its impact on our health, we don't even know the just a smidge of what we think we should know.
Exactly. And then also too, when you're talking about ketogenic and being in the ketogenic world, unfortunately we also have to tell and educate people to say that, when you go out shopping, buying a bunch of keto bars, it's not doing, that's not the right thing to do, and that I also want to, with my business of the ketogenic pharmacist, I want to educate people with that, knowing that, that we got to be focusing on real foods and not these packaged processed foods. And
yeah. And this happens with everything. Anytime that something becomes popular, everybody wants to monetize it. When I wrote Keto Clarity way back in the day, there was no like keto anything because it wasn't a market. Well, now it's a huge market. And so companies take those things and they run with it. And so you're right. Like, you can't trust those things, but that happens in every industry. Anytime there's money to be made, the shysters will come in and try to make a buck.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, and that's what I'm trying to be the one to, kind of steer people away from the big industries, including medications. I like to be like a de-prescribing pharmacist, where a lot of pharmacists are encouraging, oh, ask your doctor about this. I want to be the one, like, ask your doctor about getting off this.
Yes. Oh, and that's the thing too. So many people go on maintenance drugs, or what they think are maintenance drugs. You're going to have to take this for the rest of your life. The only ones I know of that, and please add some more to this list, but if you're a type 1 diabetic, you will always have to take insulin. That's not a negotiable. Your pancreas doesn't make it anymore. That's literally the definition of type 1 diabetes.
Right.
If you have hypothyroidism that's autoimmune from Hashimoto's and other kind of severe cases of hypothyroidism, you have to take desiccated pig thyroid for the rest of your life to regulate that. So I know some people do heal eventually, but for the most part, there are truly maintenance drugs. But there's people on statin medications as a maintenance drug. That was never intended to be that way, but people follow it. And this is the problem that a lot of pharmacists run into. Maybe you're educated like you are, but then the doctor prescribes it and the patient just obediently follows it. There needs to be some kind of an educational piece, maybe between the doctor and the pharmacist, that says, all right, I just want you to understand all the risks of what you're about to do taking this drug. Does that exist, that infrastructure?
Oh boy, I wish it did. It's so, you touched on a really big point with the statins. I mean, that statins are one of the job that I have now. We are judged on certain metrics, and one of the metrics we have is if a patient has diabetes, they have to be on a statin. And not only they have to be on a statin, but they have to be adherent to that statin.
So, I talked to a guy on Clubhouse just yesterday. Sorry to interrupt, but it's salient to the point you just made. I talked to a guy on Clubhouse yesterday, and he was like, yeah, my doctor put me on a statin. I'm like, so I'm just curious, what was your total cholesterol? 137. And I was like, why did he put you on a statin? I don't know. He just told me I had to be on one. Then I asked the follow-up, are you type 2 diabetic? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm that. And I'm just going, it's not even about lowering cholesterol anymore. It's like, let's make all these patients lemmings. And if you fit in this lemming box, you do the lemming answer. And like, that's not medicine.
No, it's not. And they're not thinking, they're just treating what they've been told to treat. And it's unfortunate. The drug companies are saying, okay, well, we gotta make sure these people are on statins. And I remember there was an advertisement, and I don't have it with me right now, but there was an advertisement for Lipitor back when Lipitor was brand and when it came out. And there was a picture of the the person on the thing on the advertisement, and
you froze for about 5 seconds. Back when Lipitor came out, pick up from there.
Okay, when Lipitor came out, there was a picture of the person on the cover, and on the very bottom it said it lowered I guess they lowered the risk of heart attack from 3% to 2%.
Oh, no. It did more than that. It did more than that. It said lowers cholesterol by 40%. And so you're getting to a great point here. The great point is you're looking at this 40%. It's, oh my gosh, 40%. So talk about relative risk versus actual risk. Go.
Yeah, that's correct. The 40%, I kind of jumped ahead of myself. But yes, you're right. It was like a 40% reduction. Like, oh my gosh, this is great. But that's relative risk. But when you talk about absolute risk, it's 1%.
That's it. Like people are so fooled by these pharmaceutical ads, and I would love it if some pharmacists could take on the mantra of making YouTube videos where you do a breakdown of these ads. I would so love that, Brian, where you like show a pharmaceutical ad and like slow it down, blow up like all the fine print and say, okay, look at what it says here. This is what they're saying. Oh, look at the 40% number. This is what it actually means. Dude, you have no idea.
That is gold. And that is absolutely right. And it's funny too, because I work with another pharmacist, and I said, I'm like, hey, come over here for a second. I showed her on my computer. I'm like, she just graduated relatively recently, so she's like, fresh out of school. I'm like, have you seen this? And her eyes widen open. She's like, no, and I'm like, well, this is what was published. This is no, she had no idea, and I didn't have any idea until I did some digging. But I mean, that's not talked about.
Yeah, and then on the cholesterol front, I remember last year, I didn't watch a lot of TV last year, but before the big bad virus hit the world, I was watching some sports, and I remember there was an ad for a new cholesterol medication, and then they started off the ad, Brian, with, when statins aren't enough, take this new drug with the statin. So it's like, now that statins can't be made into $29 billion a year in annual profits, let's create a new drug that then goes along with the old drug that we made a lot of money off of because it's going to enhance the benefit. And it's just like, when does the madness stop?
Jimmy, I'm shaking my head right now. Not only that, I mean, kind of to build on top of that, you'll get something that goes off patent, so that brand name becomes a generic. But that brand, the company that made that brand name, will keep the same drug but make it an XR version.
Tweak it.
They'll tweak it. Yeah, an extended release version, and it's already once a day medicine. Okay, so I mean, what are we doing?
I'm surprised they never did Lipitor Plus and put CoQ10 in it and said it was a new drug.
That might happen, by the way. So exactly.
Don't give them any ideas, right?
I know. So.
Oh man, I could talk to you about so many things that are frustrating about the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm sure you share those same frustrations. So.
I was going to say one more thing too, Jimmy. Yeah. We every so often where I work, we have a day where the drug reps would come in to it would be more like an educational session, and they talk about their particular product and about what's coming in the pipeline. And there was one particular company that came in to do their talk, and it was about diabetes, and the guy was sipping on a Diet Coke, nothing about diet, and I kind of asked him, like, what about diet? I just kind of generally asked him about that, and he's like, oh yeah, that's important, but this particular medication, does this reduction, this and that, and just completely just went over the whole diet part of it.
Yeah.
And then he came back another year, and I asked him, and I said, well, what do you think about Sarah Hallberg and what the wonderful things that she's doing over at Verta Health? He's like, Verta, what?